What's up, everybody? Oh, Sean, Bourbon Runner, what's up, man? Are you still in NOLA? Mama Marsha? Nick, welcome.
What's up, man?
Lauren, welcome.
Are you still in NOLA?
Chris Kedner on Barrels and Mash.
Lauren, welcome.
I can't believe that this many people actually joined already. I better deliver.
I can't believe that this many people actually
Breaking Bourbon, what's up, man? Alan, hey. Elixir. Oh, Lauren is Tyler. My bad, dude. Tyler, what's up? Yeah, we're going to be making a Jack Rose today. We're going to be using some AppleJack. One of the little sleeper bottles out there on the shelf, I would say. Very inexpensive to pick up, very delicious in a cocktail. Whiskey Rabbit Hole, welcome.
Very inexpensive to pick up, very delicious in a cocktail.
All right, there's gonna be a little bit of a delay because I'm following you guys over here on my iPad so I can see all the comments and things that are going on. But I didn't want my phone to be backwards so you guys can see the labels and read everything as we get it all set up. Jeremy, hey, what's up, man? Black Dog's Brown Water.
Jeremy.
Oh, you hearing everything I say twice? Hold on, stand by. What about now? Much better. Should not be hearing what I say twice. Mark, what's up, man? Welcome. You know, I try to keep it legit. You know, it's been a while. I look back on my YouTube videos and it's been more than a year since I did a live cocktail video. And I try to keep it pretty legit in my setup so, you know, I look somewhat official. So here's what I'm excited to do today. We're gonna make a Jack Rose cocktail. I'm gonna try to follow along on the comments as we move along with this, but I'm probably gonna miss a bunch of stuff, so you guys can continue to make fun of me in the comments. That seems to be the tradition of past. And we are going to make Tyler's recipe of the Jack Rose today. So for those of you that are maybe new to cocktails, the first thing that I want to say is that you don't need a bunch of fancy equipment to start making cocktails. You don't need a bunch of fancy ingredients to be making cocktails. You just need to kind of do three things. You need to get quality ingredients. You need to measure is key, and then have fun. And that's pretty much it. Obviously there's a little bit of technique when it comes to making cocktails, but technique comes with practice. And so if you don't start, you're never gonna get the practice. So the Jack Rose, surprisingly, I went through all of my old videos that I had posted on my YouTube channel to see if I had made this before, and I haven't. And the Jack Rose was the cocktail that got me sort of hooked into cocktails. So my favorite cocktail is a daiquiri. And a Jack Rose is really nothing more than a play on a daiquiri. Even from a ratio standpoint, it's very similar to the daiquiri. And the reason that I got obsessed with the Jack Rose is because it really is a balance of sweet and tart. If you do not get that balance right, it can be easily overly sweet or it can be easily overly tart. And so I tinkered a lot with this recipe to dial it into my preferences and my tastes. And I know that Tyler did as well, because this was a cocktail that we had discussed a lot. And so I've never made Tyler's version of this cocktail, and I'm super curious as to how it's gonna turn out. And so that's what we're gonna do. So typically a Jack Rose calls traditionally for an apple brandy. So we're using AppleJack. There's a new label on the bottle when I went to go pick this up the other day. You can pick up AppleJack probably for around 24 bucks. It's definitely under $30. Some states I'd probably guess it's under $20. And then we're also gonna be using a grenadine. So I cheated. I usually do a homemade grenadine. And I make, with palm juice and then some sugar. I put a little orange blossom water in there and some pomegranate molasses. But we're gonna use Eli Mason Grenadine. Same exact quality I would put into my own homemade grenadine. And we're gonna use Peychauds Bitters for Tyler's recipe, and we're gonna be using limes for the lime juice. So traditionally this would just call for AppleJack, grenadine, and lemon juice, but Tyler seems to have dialed this in. I think he got a little fancy because he introduced the Peychauds, but I'm super curious about it. Obviously I have my juicer, I have my Hawthorne strainer, I have my fine mesh strainer so we can catch all those ice bits in there. I've got my cutting board, and most importantly I have my measuring cup. This is the OXO measuring cup. You guys ready to begin? All right, here we go. So first thing is first is we're gonna start with getting the lime ready. So as a garnish on this drink, Tyler said that he likes to do a little bit of a lime wheel. So before I juice my lime, I'm just gonna cut off my lime wheel. So I have my garnish. That didn't come out very well. So I have my garnish already pre-made, so I can just drop that in at the top. All right, there we go. And as always, we start with not the alcohol first, because if you juice your juices and you put in your grenadines and everything else, and you don't add your booze yet, if you mess up when you're measuring, you can dump it all out and you're not wasting your liquor. So let's go ahead and get started on the juicing. So this is gonna call for 3/4 ounces of lime. So if you're picking your limes right, and I've said this before, you should get about a 2 ounce to 1.5 ounce yield from your lime when you're doing that. All right, so we got 3/4 ounces of lime juice. We're also gonna add 3/4 ounces of grenadine. And then it calls for 2 ounces or 2 dashes of Peychauds Bitters. So do 2 dashes of this. And then 2 ounces of AppleJack. Now, this comes in an 86 proof and 100 proof. So I went for the 86 proof. Did I get that right? Yep, because the other one, it's just a little much. So for this one, because we're trying to balance the sweet and the sour, if we go 100 proof, it sort of dials up that booziness of the cocktail, which isn't a bad thing. But typically this cocktail is a little bit more spirit back. So it's not spirit forward, meaning that you don't taste a lot of booze when you drink this, if you make it right. If you prefer a little bit more booze and you don't have the 100 proof, you could just use a little bit more 86 proof. Calls for 2 ounces of this. And now it's time to add some ice and shake. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some ice over here. Obviously, when it comes to quality ingredients, ice is an ingredient. So quality ice matters, how hard the ice matters, all of that when it comes to technique down the road. But just your regular freezer ice is totally fine. You just gotta get used to understanding like the dilution ratio over time when it comes to it. All right, let's give it a shake. All right, pop this. Scoot some of this over. Let's get our Hawthorne strainer. Fine mesh strainer. And there you go. Hey, Tyler, I thought you would at least put enough ingredients here to fill up the coupe glass. It's an inside joke. For those of you that don't know, as much as I love Tyler, every time he makes a cocktail, no matter how much he puts into that shaker, he just seems to never be able to fill up that coupe glass to the top. I don't know, I got it right. We'll go ahead and put our lime wheel. We'll float that in the top. And there you have it, folks. You have a Jack Rose. Now, before I take a sip of this and we dive into it, I'm actually gonna make this cocktail one more time. And this time what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make my recipe, the one that I dialed into my preferences, and we are going to compare Tyler's to mine and see how it works. And here's the fun thing about cocktails is that, yes, it's important to measure and it's important to understand the ratios of things that go into it. But more importantly, you want to really dial it into your taste preferences. And so just because the recipe originally calls for a certain ratio, that doesn't mean that when you make it and you taste it, you love it. So you might want to bump up the grenadine or lower the grenadine. Or you might want to bump up your citrus or bump up the alcohol that's in there. That's totally fine. There's no right or wrong way when it comes to making cocktails. The only right way is the way that you like it. So for this particular one, there is a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to be using lemons instead of limes. And so there's going to be obviously a little bit more acidity, a little bit more tartness into it. Instead of using 2 ounces of Laird's, I'm going to use 1.5 ounces. I'm going to go to 3/4 ounce lemon and only 1/2 ounce of grenadine. And we're going to leave out the Peychauds Bitters. And we are going to see if this makes a difference in taste. So I'm going to go ahead and get my lemon, start juicing that. There's my juice flip, much better that time. So once again, when it comes to the lemon, we're doing 3/4 ounces of lemon. That's perfect, that's right on the dot of that half lemon. Then we are going to go ahead and add 1/2 ounce of grenadine. And finally, we're gonna add the AppleJack, the apple brandy, and we're gonna do 1.5 ounces. Now that I got that going, I'm gonna go ahead and add my ice. We're gonna go ahead and give this a shake. Find my strain, same thing over. And I can hear it and I can feel it when it's done. I can't explain how, it's just, you can just tell. You do this enough times, you can feel it. All right. So obviously you can see from this one that the color is a little bit different. So obviously it's not gonna be as dark as the other one. Now here's where it gets interesting. Usually, I would garnish with a little bit of a lime peel on this one, but I'm going for something different this time. There's a book that I have, it's called The Flavor Bible, and it basically is all of the different types of, everything you can think of. Herbs, spices, fruits, things like that. And it kind of lists out what goes with them. And so I was thinking about this, and what I decided I wanted to garnish this with was a little bit of sage. Just because I wanted to get the aroma of that sage, get a little bit of that vegetal note in there, because I just really think it's gonna amp up that pomegranate that you get in that grenadine, and also a little bit of that lemon as well. All right, so here we go, side by side. So let's start with Tyler's first. That's pretty dang good. I'm not gonna lie. Tyler, the Peychauds, that's what makes it. I think me and you are thinking along the same lines because I wanted to introduce a little bit of that herbal, something herbal to it. That's why I picked the sage for my garnish. You're onto something there with that Peychauds. Here we go. Traditional recipe. Oh, it's a tough one. I'm gonna say that this one over here is just a touch more balanced. I definitely can pull out the grenadine. I can pull out the lemon juice and the citrus in there, and the AppleJack shines through. I can taste that apple brandy just enough to know that there's booze in it. Well, that one's good though. The Peychauds really punches through, and so it's almost bringing a little touch of this medicinal element to it that I'm not really digging so much. Tyler, I love you, man, but I think I'm gonna choose mine over yours. The sage. It's subtle, but it's definitely there. All right, let's see what you guys are talking about. Tyler's definitely trolling. Oh, man. Oh, you guys are crazy. It was a little bit of an inside joke when I was making fun of Tyler not filling up that coupe glass. So we're doing a Jack Rose for those of you that just joined. Hey, Chrisfield, what's up, man? So yeah, I don't know much about you guys, but I'm glad I'm back doing some cocktails. Let me know what you think. Sundays looks like it could be a good day for me. The time may fluctuate a little bit, might vary, but so far doing these on a Sunday sometime are probably the best bet with everything that's going on during the week. And also, yeah, maybe we'll even do a little bit of some whiskey tastings here once in a while. It's always fun to go a little bit live. Maybe one of you guys will join me and we could do a little like that little two-way dealio live and drink some whiskeys and have some conversation a little bit. Callie, what's up? A Jack Rose is a cocktail with apple brandy, grenadine, lemon juice, or lime juice. Shim EB, what's up, man? But yeah, it's looking like Sundays. 1M Chamra, what's up, man? Whiskey Cause. So yeah, so that's what it's looking like. Obviously, I'll take this, I'll save it, I'll post it up on my YouTube video for those of you to reference back. I'll also list out the ratios or the ingredients and the ratios of what I use so you can reference that. But yeah, if there's a specific cocktail that you'd like me to see, attempt to make, drop me a line, let me know. Be happy to add it to the queue. I keep a log of everything that we've done, so I'll even look back, and if there was one that was a favorite, maybe we'll make it again. I do have 4 pineapples in the freezer. When I say pineapples, it's just the cored out pineapple so that we could use the pineapple as the vessel for a drink. Maybe a bulu. Maybe we can make a tiki drink called a bulu. Those are always really fun. But yeah, Jack Rose, ladies and gentlemen. So if you don't have any questions for me, I'll wrap it up. I try to keep these pretty short and sweet. Mark, thanks for joining, buddy. Enjoy yourself a Jack Rose. That's good, Tyler, but now I'm wondering if there's something in the middle of these two. There's got to be. I might actually try to mix a little bit of lime and lemon, 1 dash of Peychauds, and maybe dial back the Laird's 1/4 ounce and up the grenadine 1/4 ounce. I think we might be onto something. It's just one of those things, man. You like what you like. It's all right. You dialed in your cocktail to your palate. It's totally fine. Kate does lemon and lime. See, I'm telling you, I'm thinking maybe those two mixed together might make a big difference on there. I'm thinking that there's a combination of my recipe and your recipe, Tyler, that is like money, like right on the money. Ooh, a touch of molasses. When you say molasses, are you doing regular molasses or are you doing pomegranate molasses? Seth, what's up, man? Definitely a combo of these I think would be amazing. I got lots of time tonight still. Maybe have to make that happen. Chris, I wouldn't adjust the recipe at all. If you have 80 proof Laird's, just go regular ratios with it. You don't need to make it first. So here's a little cocktail tip that I always follow when it comes to making cocktail recipes. You always need a home base. So you always need to know where your starting point is. So if you venture away from it, you can always come back to it for reference. So an example of that would be if you have Laird's, I have 86 proof. If you have the 80 proof or the 100 proof, it doesn't matter. Follow a recipe. So if you want to go into this, 2 ounces, 1-1, and that's your home base, that's perfect. Build that, make that. From there, deviate. And then always know that you can come back home to adjust, right? So you know where you started and you can go wander away, go wherever you want to go. And then you could always remember like, well, I started with this is how I made it. I'm going to go back and taste the original recipe and see if, mine is significantly better than that or not. And that's just a little tip for me. So I definitely create a home base in regards to my ratios, make it, taste it. From there, I move forward. And just so you guys also know, a little tip is, if you are trying to dial in cocktails, obviously if you're building a cocktail, tasting it, it's a lot of waste, right? So one, don't be afraid of the waste. Dump it out. If you don't like it, dump it out. But two is ratios are ratios. So the reason I bring this up is you could actually make minis if you want to as well. So if it calls for, 2 ounces of a spirit, 1 ounce of citrus, 1 ounce of a syrup, then you can obviously do a mini of that where you could do a 1/2 ounce of a spirit, and then of course a 1/4 ounce of your syrup, a 1/4 ounce of your citrus. Then you could go ahead and shake that, dump it out, and you just made yourself a mini. So you could do multiple versions of a cocktail that way, and then you're not using a ton of booze, you're not wasting a ton of it if you're dumping it out. And you're also, if you decide to drink all of this, you're not like completely obliterated by the time you're done tasting. Jim A. Barnes, what's up, man? So yeah, a little tip from me on that. I actually have, let's see, these little mini cocktail glasses, little mini martini glasses. And when I am dialing in certain cocktails or doing things with that, I'll make the minis, I'll pour those out. I usually keep a journal with all my notes in it and dial it in that way. So here's an example of the book I use. Just kind of has all my cocktail recipes in there. And I can't tell you enough, like, making cocktails is a lot like baking. Measuring is key. Measuring is absolutely key. If you eyeball it or you just go for it, you are going to get lucky sometimes. It's going to taste really good, but it's going to be really hard to replicate that down the road. And when it comes to cocktails and being able to figure out your palate and dial it in, you have to have consistency. So yeah, any other questions out there when it comes to making cocktails? Oh, you got in there. Okay, so the recipe for this. 1.5 ounces of Laird's, 3/4 ounces of lemon juice, 1/2 ounce of grenadine. So 1.5. This is going to be 1/2 ounce. And then from a lemon juice standpoint, you're going to do 3/4 ounces. Now, not to throw a curveball at you, but if you follow Tyler's recipe, it's going to be 2 ounces of the Laird's. It's going to be 3/4 ounces of grenadine, 2 dashes of Peychauds, and 3/4 ounces of lime. So 3/4 ounces of citrus, grenadine, 2 dashes, 2 ounces. That's the easiest way to put it. Hit me up if you didn't catch that. I'll be happy to send it to you. Exactly. Yes, Kate. If a bartender is eyeballing things, a Jack and Coke or a gin and tonic is probably the best way to go. Or if they have whiskey back there and they're eyeballing it, you find the most expensive bottle and you say, I'll have that. And they'll usually pour you well over 2 ounces. Especially if you tip them prior to the pour. Another little secret. All right, guys. As always, I really appreciate everyone jumping in here when it comes to making cocktails. I had a great time. Way more people than I expected join this. Once again, I'll post this up to my YouTube channel so you can see it and go with the one that I like better. Cheers, everybody. I'll see you guys next week.